Lesson 6 is our final lesson, and it contains 10 sample questions based on the Service Transition chapter. These questions, as well as their answers, can also be found in the book that accompanies this DVD. I suggest that you first try to answer the question by watching this presentation. After I read the question here, press pause on your DVD so you can answer the question at your own pace. Press the pause button again to resume the DVD and to check your answer. If you get an answer wrong, you can look up the answer and its explanation in your book at the end of Chapter 4. Off we go! Question 1. Which process is responsible for tracking and maintaining relationships between pieces of data? The answer is A. Question 2. The objective of the Service Asset and Configuration Management process is most accurately described as? The answer is C. Question 3. Which phrase is missing from the following sentence? A logical blank records the relationships between assets, the infrastructure, and services. The answer is A. Question 4. What is the best description of a release unit? The answer is D. Question 5. What is the best description of a release package? The answer is B. Question 6. Which ITIL process formally owns the definitive media library? The answer is C. Question 7. Which list shows these items in order from smallest to largest? The answer is C. Question 8. Which of the following cannot be stored in a tool? The answer is D. Question 9. What type of changes is the ECAB responsible for reviewing prior to its authorization? The answer is D. Question 10. Which of the following would be stored in the Definitive Media Library, or the DML? The answer is D. Strong work! We covered a lot of ground here in this third life cycle phase of service transition. We talked about the main goals, objectives, and business value this life cycle phase brings. We also introduced the process of service asset and configuration management. The key vocabulary words you'll need to remember are configuration item, configuration management database, and configuration management system. You'll also need to remember that the Service Asset and Configuration Management process owns and manages the definitive media library. Also keep in mind that the Service Asset and Configuration Management process provides a configuration model, which is a mock-up or representation of services, assets, and IT infrastructure, and makes that available to other processes to run simulations and risk assessments. Next, we talked about change management and how it's responsible for fluffy verbs like managing and coordinating changes. Important vocabulary here includes the terms Change Advisory Board, Emergency Change Advisory Board, Request for Change, and Post-Implementation Review. Don't forget the duties of the change manager as well. We also talked about the third process in the service transition trifecta called Release and Deployment Management. This process has the action verbs like building, testing, implementing, installing, and executing. Important terms from this lesson are release unit and release package. Lastly, we talked about knowledge management, which is the process responsible for making sure that management has the data and information at their fingertips to create knowledge. We talked about the mother of all databases, the Service Knowledge Management System, and how it federates data and information from many sources to provide management the insight they need to make informed decisions and to take action. Also, don't forget that wisdom cannot be stored in a tool. Coming up next, we have the service lifecycle phase of service operation, where we learn how to support the services now that they're finally up and running and live in the production environment. I'll see you in Chapter 5.